People don't like fake news. And ABC, you know, they have George Stephanopoulos. I call him Slopadopoulos. George Stephanopoulos. I said, George, I've had you up to here. You got to start telling the truth.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's always identified as a black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, one second. You just did it. You just did it again.
Of the United States.
Why do you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer.
Man, listen. The saga continues, okay, because the story that won't go away, the one that all the liberals are trying to claim that is some sort of like bombshell, is going to implode the Trump campaign, where he went to the NABJ event, National Association for Black Journalists, and they asked him repeated questions about race. Y'all know that one. And now they're trying to say, well, the Republicans need to stop talking about race and bringing up Kamala's race into question. They're the ones who brought it up. If you don't want to talk about race, don't ask race baiting questions. And this is actually turning against the Democrats. This is imploding their side again because they've been so fake. They faked it with Sleepy Joe. They're faking it again with Kamala Harris, pretending like she's black, pretending that she has anything to do with the black community at all, even though she was raised in Canada as an Indian American woman, and is blowing up in her face because a lot of Americans are questioning it more and more. Now they're trying to desperately spin and backflip and contort their way out of it, and it's not working. So now you have George Stephanopoulos from ABC, who Donald Trump has litigation against, both him and the network. And you have Byron Donalds here because Byron Donalds does not have litigation against Stephanopoulos and ABC. And like always, Byron Donalds cooks Stephanopoulos because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Byron Donalds, Congressman, thank you for joining us this morning. Why is former President Trump questioning the Vice President's racial identity?
Well, first, George, in Chicago, he was responding to a question from, I believe, Rachel Scott.
Exactly.
Like, this is really a phony controversy. I don't really care. Most people don't. But if we're going to be accurate, when Kamala Harris went into the United States Senate, it was AP that said she was the first Indian American United States Senator. It was actually played up a lot when she came into the Senate. Now she's running nationally. Obviously, the campaign has shifted. They're talking much more about her father's heritage and her black identity. It doesn't really matter. The president mentioned it. What he also talks about far more frequently is the fact that Kamala Harris is the person who created this massive inflation, which is destroying black families, white families, Hispanic families. It's her failure as border czar that has left our southern border wide open, more than 10 million illegal immigrants coming into our country, record fentanyl coming into our country, which has killed.
I'm going to pause him real quick. So the 10 million number, just so y'all know, that's the number that is known, not the gotaways. Okay, so the estimate is that it's twice as many. So you're looking at 20 million minimum, if not more, because it's just impossible for them to catch everyone. They were doing it under the Trump administration because he had nearly 30,000 Mexican soldiers doing it, who we had for free, by the way. But now you don't have all of those people anymore because Joe Biden's an idiot, and so is Kamala Harris, Miss Border Czar, and they let the Mexico soldiers go. And we don't have any Border Patrol agents to make up for that nearly 30,000 amount of soldiers. And we have no clue the exact number of illegal immigrants that are actually in the country. And we also have no clue how many terrorists are in the country either.
More Americans than at any other point in the history of our country with respect specifically to fentanyl, and the fact that she and Joe Biden have unleashed one of the worst foreign policies in the history of our country that has us on the verge of World War III. That is Kamala Harris's record. President Trump talks about that frequently, but yes, he did mention it in Chicago in response to a question from Rachel Scott.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's always identified as a black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
No, no, the hell she hasn't. Stephanopoulos is an idiot. The fake news is a bunch of dummies. She has never identified as both. When she was running in California, she did not identify as both at all. This is a recent thing. When she started running for president, that's when she started saying, oh, I'm black.
What we're gonna cook today is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that.
My mother, who raised me and my sister, was a proud woman. She was a brown woman. She was a woman with a heavy accent.
And her mother, Shamla Gopalan, was also the biggest influence in Kamala Harris's life. Harris's visits to India with her mother kept her connected to her roots.
I'm gonna be the first black woman running in a long time, or I don't know if it was other black women running, but she said, I'll be the first black president if I'm to win. And she never said anything like that before. She never said I was the first black senator, I was the first black attorney general, I was the first black district attorney. She said she was the first Indian of all of those things. Now, all of a sudden, now she's running for president and wants the black vote because there's more black Americans than there are Indian Americans. She's pandering. She's a flip-flop pollywop. She switched sides. She hop over here, hop over there. That's what Kamala Harris does. She flip-flops.
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, 1 second. You just did it. You just did it again.
Of the United States.
Why do you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer. He talked about it on the stage yesterday in Atlanta for what, 2 minutes? He spent more than 35, 40 minutes going after her record, talking about how radical of a senator that she was. She was the most liberal senator in the United States, in the United States Senate. That is a fact. He talked about the job that she did as vice president of the United States, a job, I will add, which has been a failure for the American people. I know you guys like to glom on to this that he talks about in jest or in a serious manner for about a minute or so, but what you do not cover is the litany of failures of Kamala Harris. That's what you're not covering, George.
So questioning somebody's racial identity for a couple minutes is okay?
You gotta slap yourself for asking that question.
Is okay?
Slap yourself.
George, I'm going to tell you again, he brought it up. AP is the one that wrote the headline when she first came in to the United States Senate. Didn't talk about her being black, talked about her being the first Indian American senator. AP brought that up. I mean, George, we could have this conversation for the entire segment, but none of this matters to the American people. What matters to the American people is, are we going to have the same policies of the Biden-Harris administration that has been destructive of the American people, or are we going to have the policies of the Trump administration, which put America first, had low inflation,
I'm going to make a bet that after Byron Donalds finishes his spiel, George Stephanopoulos, you guessed it, is going to want to keep talking about race-based comments. You guys want to make a bet? $100. Look, if I win this bet, send some donations. Drop some likes if I win this bet.
Okay? Americans, no matter your race, no matter your color, no matter your creed, and a foreign policy that kept America safe. Those are the facts that truly matter, because this issue is going to come and go. The lives of the American people is what's going to remain, and that's what matters more than anything else.
If it doesn't matter, I don't understand why you keep on repeating it, why the president keeps on repeating it, why those introducing the president yesterday
George,
keep on
actually,
repeating
I'm
it.
not the one who keeps repeating it. George, you're the one that's bringing it up now. That's you.
You've done it,
I understand why
sir.
you
You've done it.
up.
You've done it 3 times. Every single answer
George,
you gave me. Now let me finish, sir.
George,
every single answer you gave, you repeated the slur.
You asked me, George. That's why I'm pushing back on you now. George, you asked me the question 3 times. I responded, but I'm.
And every single time you repeat the slur. That is exactly my
slur?
point. You simply can't.
What is this, like a racial? Like he's acting like it's like you're like you a racial slur or something. Like I don't even know if there's a racial slur for an Indian American. It probably is, but I don't know what it is. How the hell is this a slur? These guys are nuts.
say that it's wrong.
George, so then what you're saying, and I want to get off this topic because it's not the only thing that's going on. But George, now you're saying that AP is the one that slurred Kamala Harris, because those are the facts. You can go to the internet and look at the clips, George, if you want to, or we can talk about this now. I prefer to talk about the future of our country because the American people are struggling. The American people do need serious policy decisions to be made, and they need serious leadership on the world stage. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do that. Donald J. Trump has proven that he can do that.
Wow, what a tool this guy is. What a tool. Look at the fake outrage. Look at the fake outrage. Like, this guy is one of the most, this guy's reprehensible. Like, I hope Trump kicks his ass in this lawsuit because, for those who don't know, Trump is suing George for claiming that he was a convicted rapist, even though he wasn't. But this is what George repeated on the network upwards of close to a dozen times in a single interview. So I definitely think that, in my opinion, Trump should win that as long as he's not in some hyper partisan liberal place. This is how the fake news is operating. They pretend to be outraged. They're hoping that other people like feel George's energy. Like, how dare he say what he said? But these people are fake. They're basically actors and actresses. So, like, you can't trust anything that these people say, because these are the same people who did not get angry when Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, if you don't know if you want to vote for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
No anger, no outrage, no questions, no interviews, no nothing when the Democrats do extremely racist and outlandish things. But as it relates to the Republicans, they want to be all fake, like hooting and hollering and steam coming out of their ears for any and everything. Don't want to talk about Kamala Harris's record because she loses as it relates to every issue on her record. Instead, they're trying to find some sort of sound bites, trying to make things look like, oh, the conservatives, look how racist they are. Like, they're questioning her blackness. They're trying to produce some sort of fake outrage and hope that their simple-minded members of their audience will go out and rage vote against Teflon Don. But it does not look like it's working. It looks like it's actually having the opposite effect, because the whole thing, I think that this is because a lot of people don't understand the black community. For those who don't know, I'll put y'all on game, because a lot of people who watch this channel aren't just black folks. But I'm put y'all on game. A lot of people in the black community are very contentious and kind of specific about who they welcome into the community. And if you got a person that's like, hey, I'm Indian, I'm Asian, I'm this, I'm that, and then suddenly they all of a sudden are running for president, and all of a sudden, hey guys, yeah, let's go to the barbecue. I like hot sauce. I'm washing my collard greens in the bathtub. Black folks are gonna side eye you like, you don't seem like you belong at the cookout. Get the hell up out of here. So it just is what it is. Like, most of the time, black people can spot a fake black person. I don't know about other types of people in terms of politicians. A lot of people supported Sleepy Joe for some reason, but a lot of the time they can spot a fake black person from like a million miles away, and Kamala Harris is as fake as they come. Do you guys think that George is actually seriously outraged here? I know he's woke, but do you think he's just playing? I think he is, but let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
They gave me questions. I answered them in writing.
Not an obstruction.
Look, George, you're being a little wise guy, okay? Which is, typical for you. Just so you understand. Very simple.